I think that speaks to something that both of you have mentioned to me in the past, which is about creating a good experience, creating a positive interaction throughout that process. And there's two sides to it. Georgina, I know that's something you've been pretty passionate about internally, as to kind of making it easy. It goes both ways, really, doesn't it, in terms of the buyer and the supplier experience?
Massively. And we have our procurement team do a brilliant job of engaging with our suppliers on a regular basis. So we hold regular kind of goods not for resale supplier engagement events where we really integrate them into our strategy. So we feel like they can represent our organisation to the outside world just as well as we could represent it. Or that's definitely the intended outcome anyway, so they can understand why we are making certain buying decisions or judgments. It's super important for us to make sure that the resources that those suppliers are popping on site are having a good experience, because I think Dougal just said it at the start, we're a consumer business, so we want people to shop with us, we want people to be members, and chances are if they have a poor experience when they're engaging with us, then that won't continue. So experience is absolutely key. It needs to be meaningful, purposeful in terms of the interactions that people are having. And that's one of the things that I've really tried to hammer home with IR35, because what we're not saying to our stakeholders is, if somebody's outside of IR35, you can't speak to them. You can't invite them, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, because actually they are still an integrated part of the team. They've still got to deliver successfully for you. It's a balance, isn't it, between understanding the risks and the obligations, but making sure that you are being as inclusive as you possibly can when you're engaging with those individuals, regardless of the category that they come from. So worker experience, employee experience, supplier experience, whoever they might be, is fundamentally a part and parcel of what drives the work that we do. We need to do more in terms of creating a better experience and monitoring the feedback and the experience that we get. We've got some mechanisms of doing that, but that needs to evolve. But it's fundamental to us that we keep our eye on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've got a better experience happening for your buyers and for your suppliers, whichever type they may be, whether it's an individual, whether it's a company that's supplying individuals, or whether it's a company that has individuals within it that are doing some work for you. If you get a good experience on both sides, then in theory, you should hopefully get a better outcome, better return on investment. And I think it leads on to another area, which I'm quite passionate about, just in terms of getting visibility of the supply chain, of all the different worker types and engagement types, is just building that kind of innovative an agile capacity within your workforce, which naturally needs diversity within it to make it more innovative and more agile and more all-encompassing. And that also ties into some of the issues that COVID has brought up, which I would say go across all supply chains, but have been hitting the headlines more around goods and materials and distribution, which is resilience of supply chain. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows who you might need to rely on and how you might need to engage with your trusted suppliers. So, is that something that you see as one of the kind of end products in terms of this sort of full on, I almost said total workforce then. I don't know whether that's a phrase you use internally, but that kind of approach.
Yeah, so we do use the phrase total workforce optimization internally. It took a while to get that explained, but we do now use that term. So yeah, I mean, our strategy is a big one, and I don't just look after contingent labour and optimization of our third-party supply chain. My other focus is how we optimise and bring agility into our colleague population, how we can offer people more opportunity to move around, not just within their function, but within the multiple business units that they have, and ensure that we're creating role profiles that allow our businesses to pivot resources in the most effective place. So I've got a pretty broad agenda, but to answer your question, are we thinking about how we can make sure that the supply chain are as integrated as possible, their experiences are as positive as possible, the output and the outcome that we were expecting is measured, monitored and maintained? Absolutely. But you can't do that if you can't see them. And probably one of the biggest challenges for us is we have lots and lots of agreements that are maybe milestone based or output based, but are we monitoring them in the most effective way? In some instances, yes, possibly not in other areas. So to have a solution that could help us do that, so we can really prove that we're getting the return on investment and a great service at the same time, is something we've definitely got our eye on for later this year.